Hello, this is Rick Saltarelli with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners with this week's segment of Beyond Your Front Door. And today I am so pleased to have back with me today Amy Southgate, who is the Strategic Business Manager for Royal Caribbean in the area that I am in Central Florida. So welcome back, Amy.
Thanks for having me, Rick. It's always good to feel like I'm virtually getting out of my home. I am very close to going places and doing things. So excited to be talking with you today.
We're excited to have you back, and especially that little background that you have there with the perfect day at Coco Cay.
I know, right? I just got this latest Zoom background, and the biggest temptation are these overwater cabanas. Those really, they launched that whole Cocoa Beach Club area just months before the pandemic. And obviously, no one would have known. But now, those guests who were able to experience it were kind of like the elite few that got that VIP treatment. So we're all anxious to get back there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're so anxious to get there. We were there before all of the revitalization, so we're dying to get back there. And
Yeah.
talking about dying to get back, I am so pleased that we now have cruises that are starting up, not from US soil yet, but we have some cruises this summer for North Americans that want to get on a ship. And so we're going to start maybe with the Northeast, and that is the announcement of the Vision of the Seas sailing from Bermuda.
Yes, and everyone who's been to Bermuda, I know you've been there before as well. It's such a beautiful place to visit, and it can be a very expensive place to visit. So going via cruise is actually a really great way to go and see it. And the thing I probably love most about the itinerary is, of course, you fly into Bermuda, and then at the end of the cruise, you have an additional overnight. So you don't have to worry about a pre or post cruise hotel stay. The ship is your hotel stay, basically, so that's just a great way to really immerse yourself. It's also stopping at Perfect Day Coco Cay, so everyone's favorite destination there. And, when it comes to returning to cruising after the pandemic, we're very blessed to have Perfect Day Coco Cay as sort of an extension of our brand, an extension of our ships, because this is a location where people can really let their hair down and know that all the protocols will be following on board the ship will also be followed on land at the island. So all the things they've come to know about hand washing and social distancing, all those various measures will be executed on the island. And of course, we're dealing with 100 acres. So it's a huge area. So people have plenty of room to spread out and enjoy the beach and the water park and everything. So it's going to be great. The Vision, of course, is one of our smaller ships. It's in the Vision class, but ironically, it was the last of the Vision class. There's a little fun fact for you. That was the original class name, but they only used it for the final ship. So she's normally about a 2,000 passenger ship, but obviously we'll be operating at a limited capacity as well. And although there are no firm numbers, you can expect it, I would say, around half full. That's a bit of a shot in the dark, but that's something that we can probably expect when cruising does resume. And on the Vision, it's going to start up June 26th, so just a couple of months away.
And that is so awesome. So remember, if it is half capacity, those that are listening, that means smaller crowd when you are on Perfect Day at Coco Cay as well. And I just want to add, just like Amy said, I love Bermuda. It's one of my most favorite places I've ever been to. It is unlike any other Caribbean island. So you really can't compare it to anything. It is so different, very pristine, very organized, more British than Great Britain is. So just a great place to visit. And as Amy said, you get to spend that night overnight. That lets you get out and explore the downtown area.
Yeah, and I know one of the reservations people have about traveling is, having to take that flight. And, we all have our own feelings about traveling in a post-COVID world. But I must say it sweetens the deal with these contracted air rates that the cruise lines have gone and initiated with traditionally American Airlines and United. And some of them are as low as $99 round trip. They just lowered them like a week ago. So if folks are flying from JFK or Newark, those were two of the hubs with the $99 round trip airfare. And I mean, when they put it out there, I was like, I'm contemplating coming to New York for a week and then going to Bermuda for a week. I mean, when you can go on a cruise for less than $100 per day, flight and cruise included, I mean, you can't go to the beach for that amount. You know what I mean? So it's a really good value for families, friends, gathers, people that want to gather and get away.
And it's one less thing for you to worry about because we're going to take care of the airfare at the same time we book the cruise.
Yep. And the airfare with Royal Caribbean, if you're booking it, with Rick and through our flight finder system, is a refundable rate. So you're protected. That way, if anything changes along the way, so just another added assurance that we'll get you there. We'll make sure you're safe. And if you change your mind, we've got your back.
Sure. And so we're going to move a little bit further south to Nassau. So one of the greatest cruising ports, maybe the ultimate cruising port in the Caribbean. And here is a ship that's going to be starting its cruising from Nassau, and that is the Adventure of the Seas.
I love the adventure. I mean, I'm kind of partial to the Voyager class. When it came out in '99, that was such a groundbreaking class of ships with the ice skating rink and the Royal Promenade. So a bit of a bigger ship than the Vision, traditionally around 4,000 guests, but again, you can expect that to be significantly reduced when it starts up on June 12th. So actually, the Adventure will be our first ship with no resident restrictions. And I say resident restrictions because folks may not know we've actually been sailing out of Singapore on board the Quantum of the Seas since early December. And our president, Richard Fain, he had a really great statistic to share via many, many media channels. But for those who may have not heard it, I'll repeat it on his behalf. We've had over 100,000 guests sail with us on board the Quantum of the Seas, and only 10 positive COVID cases out of over 100,000 guests. Each case was isolated and dealt with on its own. So to have those kind of numbers and that kind of reassurance definitely tells us that the plans and protocols we put in place are working, and we're executing those, to the absolute best possible. So hopefully that gives some folks confidence about returning to cruising with us or another brand as well. I know many of them have also started up in Europe with similar statistics. So we're ready to get back out there.
Sure. And Nassau, like I say, it's one of those cruise ports I think most people have been to, but you've been there for 8 hours, maybe 12 hours. Think about now starting your cruise and ending your cruise in Nassau and having that ability to maybe do a pre or a post cruise stay and see Nassau after dark. Just a great experience. So I just love that as an opportunity for people, and lots of flights, lots of gateway flights into Nassau. So that is
Yes.
something that we could all do.
I was looking at the same thing because I actually flew out of Nassau, and that was the first time I really went beyond a couple of miles from the pier, because the airport's on the other side of Nassau. And when I got to that side, I was like, this has been hiding here all along. The beaches are so beautiful over on that side of the island. It's worth the trek, and I really encourage people to check it out. Again, contracted air rates, I was looking for myself here in Tampa area, and they were as low as 208. So, and that season's going to run longer. So it starts June 12th, and I believe the last cruise leaves September 11th. So more time if you want to go later in the summer. I know some folks may want to see how the cruising unfolds for the first month or so. So plenty of options.
Sure. And I will just say, I have been to Nassau, I'm guessing 12 to 15 times, and we find something new to do every time we go. So if you're looking for ideas, just ask.
Definitely.
And we're going to move a little bit further south. This is a cruise that's very near and dear to myself because I am booked on it. And that is the Grandeur of the Sea, sailing from Barbados.
I know. I was hoping they would announce this to be one of the new itineraries, but we're starting up there. December 5th will be our first cruise out of Barbados on board the Grandeur of the Seas, so a sister to the Vision of the Seas. And because of that smaller size, she's able to navigate into those smaller ports. And we're super excited to introduce new ports like St. Vincent, Trinidad, Tobago. Of course, we're going back to Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, St. Lucia, Grenada. Just so many beautiful Southern Caribbean ports. For those who've never been, I mean, this is a very port intensive itinerary. They've got 7 nights, they've got 14 nights. You can do some back to backs. I think you guys are doing the 14 night, right?
We are. And we're going to 5 islands we have never been to. And people that I talk to can hardly believe that because they think I've been to every island in the Caribbean, but I haven't. So we're going to 5 islands that are new to us.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. And I think, like each cruise has its own sort of vibe and atmosphere, I think a port intensive cruise like that is going to attract the avid traveler like yourself as well. So for people who are looking to see new destinations, that's the kind of crowd you're going to be surrounded with, that same well-traveled sense of adventure. Let's get out and explore kind of group of people. So I think they're going to be fabulous.
Yes. And again, similar to our discussion with Bermuda, Barbados itself is another amazing port to go and visit. So
Yeah.
you
And
can
again,
put
they've got
that one.
great partnerships with some of the different resorts. If you want to do pre or post all-inclusive experience, there are multiple resorts that we're working with on that. Some really beautiful properties there.
And so we're happy to say that we have booked our air, 2 nights in a hotel, and our 14-night cruise, all through Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines and, of course, through Salty Breeze Cruise Planners. So
Very nice.
very excited about that. And we're going to move and talk about another new sailing. It's not in the Caribbean, but it is new, and that is on the Jewel of the Seas sailing out of Cyprus.
Yes, so a little bit more challenging to get to this destination because you do have to fly to Limassol, which is a smaller airport. But again, we've worked with the different air providers to make sure we have enough airlift to get all of our guests out there. And the Jewel is one of the most beloved classes of ships, that Radiance Class. We've talked about it before. The ships of light, they're so beautiful and elegant. And they were made in the company in a really unique time. Voyager Class had already come out. And then we actually went smaller. So kind of like when we came out with the Oasis Class, and went smaller with the Quantum Class, we were going for that real elegant feel. And that's exactly what this class of ship is. So as you sail all around Greece, again, very port intensive, Mykonos, Athens, Santorini, Rhodes, Crete, like you're going all over the place. So if you've got a balcony, you're going to have a bird's eye view of one of the most beautiful, pristine destinations.
And like you say, one of the most beloved ships and beloved class of ships. This is my favorite class of ship. And just a little tidbit of all the videos that I've done on my YouTube channel, Salty Breeze Cruise Planners YouTube channel, my most watched video all time is this ship, the Jewel of the Seas.
Very nice. So there's definitely something about it. When I worked on board, so many of the Crown and Anchor guests just kept coming back again and again. I was on the Radiance for a long time, and same thing. It just had a real special place in people's hearts. And I think in today's world, when it comes to cruising, you know what it's like when you've upgraded your cruise experience to a balcony or perhaps a suite. It's very hard to go really in any other class of stateroom. And the good thing about that Radiance Class is nearly half the ship, maybe even more. I want to say maybe 54% of the staterooms on board are balconies. So definitely a lot of options when it comes to being able to pick the best stateroom for them.
Yeah, it's a great class of ship. And then we're going to pop back over to the USA. This is the last ship we're going to talk about today, but I think it's so important because the Navigator of the Seas is going to California and it will be sailing year round out of Los Angeles.
Yes, and doing different itineraries, which I was so excited because one of the things that I think we do really well is a repetitive itinerary, right? So some of them do the 7 nights over and over and over, or maybe a 6 and 8 alternating. But rarely do you see the opportunity for 4, 5, and 7 nights, a real mixture there, which really helps different groups that maybe want to travel. Bachelorette groups that want to go for a weekend getaway, or families that are looking to a longer, more intensive cruise down to Cabo, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta. I love Puerto Vallarta. So I myself am also looking at that cruise because I love that itinerary. But even to Catalina Island and, just Ensenada, just kind of getting a little taste over there on the West Coast is going to be huge. And that ship was just amplified pre-COVID, of course, but over 100 million in renovations, and that pool deck is so beautiful, so posh and fun and vibrant. So I know that the Los Angeles crowd is really going to love it.
And this ship will appeal to cruisers of all ages, won't it? It's not just for
Of
kids,
course, yeah. And
everybody.
again, I think that's something with the different lengths of itineraries because, you do tend to, I would say, gear a bit younger on the shorter itineraries. And then, a more of a mixed demographic on the longer. On the 7 night is really the perfect spot for our brand. I worked on the Oasis of the Seas for a long time, and it does almost all 7 night cruises. And that was one of the best things about it. You got people of all walks of life, all ages, all interests, couples, singles, families, young, old, from near and far. It was just such a great melting pot of all different types of people. And then you can kind of find your spot, like, oh, I really like the schooner bar and I like that vibe, or I like the jazz club and I like that vibe. So it's really one of the neat things about those larger ships. And Navigator's got it too. Again, Voyager class, so big ship out there on the West Coast.
Sure. And I'm a big fan of longer cruises, 7-night cruises and longer. And part of it for me is really that onboard experience that is provided by the dining room wait staff and the room steward. And the longer you're on the ship, the better they know your likes and your dislikes, and they really ramp it up for you and take care of you. So those longer cruises are always a great enjoyment for me anyway.
Yeah. And one of the good things I think about Royal Caribbean that, held true in the past and I'm sure will hold true in the future is, when we find crew members that love a ship or an itinerary, when I was out of Texas on the Liberty of the Seas, it was the same crew for like a decade. And that crew just loved that ship, loved those people. It was amazing. We kind of built our own family. And I think, the same thing will happen out of the West Coast. It's going to find its spot, its people, and they're going to see the same crew. So if they come to cruise with us 3, 6 months down the line, they'll be seeing the same faces again, and they'll be excited to welcome them back, I'm sure.
Sure. And when we started this little chat about the Navigator, you said the word groups. So I want to actually finish off my interview today just talking about incentive programs, because this is a great way for groups, for companies that want to incentivize their staff to be able to provide them with a great vacation, and they can lock down the price really, really quick by buying into the incentive program. So maybe you could just walk us through that and maybe educate myself and some other people all at the same time.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a really great program and it's kind of hidden because, our main bread and butter, are people just general public booking the cruises. Most of them book through travel agents like yourself. That's the preferred method of booking. I do want to throw that out there. I always say online is good for looking, but perhaps not for booking. Always best to go with a professional like yourself, Rick. And, I'm a little bit biased. I've booked many things through you before. So I just want to give you a little plug there to say I work for the cruise line and even I book through a travel agent. So, but with the incentive program, it's really easy. You just buy a certificate outright. They have different blackout periods or a particular number of days of sailing. So there's different like ranges of certificates, and they start at around $600 per person, and that is inclusive of a 3-night cruise plus taxes, and it would be a double occupancy stateroom. And then they go on up from there up to a 7-night, no restrictions kind of a cruise certificate. So a lot of companies use this, particularly in the sales world, if they want to incentivize maybe the top 10. It's a great thing that you can give away, and then they have an expiration of 1 to 2 years depending on the certificate type once again, and then the guests can then redeem it whenever they want. So it's a really flexible program, and again, can be something that you just let your travel agent know, give Rick a call and say, hey, what's this incentive thing about? I've got a small business here and I'd love to do something special, especially in a post-COVID world. We all need some vacations to look forward to and get excited about, and it's a really way to give back to employees.
Sure. And also the clients. You could give it away to the clients. So,
that's true.
yeah. So it has so many benefits, so many ways to be used. So I want to really thank you for being with me today. We've been talking with Amy Southgate from Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. We've been talking about some new deployments of the Vision of the Seas out of Bermuda, the Adventure of the Seas out of Nassau, the Jewel of the Seas out of Cyprus, the Grandeur of the Seas out of Barbados. Come and join me January the 5th. Or the Navigator of the Seas out of Los Angeles. And then, of course, closing it up with the incentive program, great for groups, great for organizations, especially sales organizations, incentivize their staff, all available from one of our favorite cruise lines, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. Thank you so much, Amy, for being with me today.
Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Rick.
Thank you. And I'm Rick Saltarelli. I'm with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, the place where we help create lifelong lasting memories. If you have any questions, give us a call, 888-332-8202. Have a great week.